At 3 p.m. on August 10, 1999, Linus Torvalds delivered the keynote address at LinuxWorld. The crowd of 6,000 people began lining up at 12 noon.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Larry Augustine, LinuxWorld Conference Chair and President and CEO of VA Linux Systems.
These guys have to clap. I pay them. Thank you all for being here. It looks like it's been a great show so far. If you'll indulge me for a moment, I'm going to try and avoid the glare of the lights and just I still think there's a lot of people, even though this is the second show, I still think there's a lot of people who don't quite get what it is that's so exciting about Linux. So there's this great show going on next door, there's huge exhibits and everything, but it's the people out here that are the real contributors, not those companies. The person on next, I know you all know, so I don't have to give anything in the way of introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Linus Torvalds. Linus.
Calm down. Calm down. Say, ooh. Yes. I don't want to just give one of my normal talks because I find them boring. Probably by now most of you find them boring too because you've heard them like 10 times. But after the technical update, we'll actually try whether we can do a questions and answers session with 5,000 people or how many of you there are there. And it may not actually work out because one of the 5,000 people is really loud. The one thing I will do, which I always do in all my talks, is the gratitude thing. I want to kind of acknowledge the fact that I've obviously not been alone in doing Linux.
We could invite Richard Stallman, who's the founder of the Free Software Association, and Tim Ney, who's the managing director. There we go.
Here it is.
Now, Richard, I saw you playing your recorder in Paris at that Linux conference, but I didn't have an audio track. So would you get them to add audio to their video downstream next time?
I don't have any control over that. Unfortunately, those things can only be done with non-free software.
Okay. All right. We'll give you the award, and before you say a word, we'll have Tim and yourself hold up a little representation of the contribution towards the Free Software Association.
Well, since the first three recipients have spoken for the open source movement, I think I should speak about the free software movement. The open source movement focuses on practical advantages that you can get by having a community of users who can cooperate on interchanging and improving software. I agree completely with the points they make about that. The reason why my views are different, why I am in the free software movement rather than the open source movement, is that I believe there's something more important at stake, that freedom to cooperate with other people, freedom to have a community is important for our quality of life. It's important for having a good society that we can live in, and that is, in my view, even more important than having powerful and reliable software. So, very ironic things have happened, but nothing to match this. Giving the Linus Torvalds Award to the Free Software Foundation is sort of like giving the Han Solo Award to the Rebel Fleet. You see, some of you may not realize how far that analogy goes. But actually, let me tell you how we got here. See, what happened is, 15 years ago, if you wanted to use a computer, the only way you could do it was with proprietary software that divides and subjugates the users. And most people a lot of people didn't like it, but they saw no alternative. but some of us were determined to make an alternative, and we said we're going to develop a free operating system, a free software operating system that will give users the chance to have freedom while they use their computers. Now, a lot of people said, well, it's a nice idea, but it's so hard, we'll never get it done, so I don't want to participate. I don't believe you can ever get it done. But luckily, not everybody said that. And clearly, we knew we would eventually get the kernel done. But as it happens, somebody else did a better kernel before we did. Now, in the old days, we had an overall strategy for calling people's attention to the importance of freedom, to the freedom that they can have or not have when they use a computer. Well, what can we do about it? As far as I can tell, the only workable way of trying to change this and make that strategy work again is to spread the word that the operating system you're using is actually the GNU system, somewhat modified, of course. And when people know this, they'll take a look at the reasons we developed this system, they'll think about these issues, and some of them will decide they agree. So I ask people, please tell people this is the GNU system. It's the combination of GNU and Linux, so we can call it GNU/Linux.